time. This is the time for a new edition of Panorama News. You are in the company of my colleague Mahesti Rabia and myself, Hala Al-Hamalawi. Good day to you, Mahesti.
Good day to you, Hala, and good day to all our dear viewers. We'll start our news bulletin with the headlines right after this. President Sisi receives the Belarus president. France hosts Middle East Peace Conference. And German plane lands in Kuwait over bomb threats.
Welcome back. Those were the headlines. Now the news in full details. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met on Sunday with Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko at the presidential palace, where the two leaders held a press conference after their talks. President el-Sisi said that the talks focused on means of enhancing ties in all fields. Meanwhile, Egypt, Belarus signed cooperation deals and MOUs to boost the bilateral relations between the two countries. Earlier, President el-Sisi met with Macedonian President Giorgio Ivanov in Cairo. During the meeting, el-Sisi and Ivanov tackled a number of mutual issues and joint cooperation in various domains. President el-Sisi said that combating terrorism is a common responsibility of the international community, stressing that it comes through fighting the extremist ideologies and not only by security means. The agenda of the talks also included the latest developments in the Middle East and the Mediterranean, notably the situation in Libya and Syria, as well as the migrants and the refugees crisis and ways to combat terrorism.
Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry heads Egypt's delegation to the International Peace Summit to resume the peace process between the Palestinian and the Israeli sides. More than 70 world diplomats are gathering in Paris to urge renewed Middle East peace talks that would lead to a Palestinian state. More details in the following story.
Headed by Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, attended the International Peace Summit to be held in Paris to resume the peace process between the Palestinian and the Israeli sides. Major powers will send a message to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump on Sunday that a two-state solution between Israelis and Palestinians is the only way forward, and warned that his plan to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem could derail peace efforts. Some including key European and Arab states, as well as the permanent members of the UN Security Council, are due in Paris for a meeting that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected as futile and rigged. Neither the Israelis nor the Palestinians will be represented, but just 5 days before Trump is sworn in, the conference provides a platform for countries to send a strong signal to the future American leader. Trump has pledged to pursue more pro-Israeli policies and move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv, where it has been for 68 years, to Jerusalem, all but enshrining the city as Israel's capital, despite international objections. France has said that the meeting does not intend to impose anything on Israel or the Palestinians, and that ultimately, only direct negotiations between the two can resolve the conflict. However, diplomats said that the communique could be toughened up with an allusion to Trump's plans for Jerusalem and whether to have a follow-up to the French initiative intensely debated. Meanwhile, Shoukry will deliver a speech that would tackle Egypt's vision regarding the Palestinian cause and regarding reaching a comprehensive settlement.
Under the auspices of the Foreign Ministry, the two-day World Forum for Fighting Terrorism takes place in Cairo on Sunday. Representatives of more than 35 countries are participating in the forum, including the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, as well as representatives of the European Union. The forum is scheduled to discuss means of eliminating this phenomena within the challenges.
Egyptian security forces killed the head of the so-called Ansar Bait al-Maqdis terrorist group and 10 other militants linked to it during a raid on one of their hideouts in the Sinai Peninsula. The Interior Ministry said members of the terrorist group opened fire at the security forces as they approached the hideout in an abandoned house in the North Sinai provincial capital of Al Arish. A ministry statement said the gunmen were linked to the militant leader from the so-called Ansar Bayt al-Maqdis, who formed groups that attacked security forces. The so-called Maqdis, the name used by the terrorist group. The ministry said the attacks included car bombing on Monday at a checkpoint near Al Arish that killed 8 policemen and a civilian. It added that the group also assassinated 2 other policemen and kidnapped and killed an engineer. Militants have killed hundreds of soldiers and policemen since Mohammed Morsi was deposed in 2013. Most of the attacks have taken place in the north of Sinai Peninsula, though attacks have reached Cairo.
Moving on to the regional arena, Daesh group gained ground around a key eastern Syrian city on Sunday, despite a heavy air strike by government warplanes.